From palace envy to tiny sausage, Prince Harry has made it clear that he's had it tough. That's right, the prince has been hard done by.
Now, look, I want to pivot now to the royals. Prince Harry has actually been savaged as having no discernible talent and depicted by a puppet.
What started as just another cheeky British talk show moment has now exploded into a royal disaster of global proportions. Prince Harry didn't just take offense, he detonated. Insiders say the Duke of Sussex stormed off set, red-faced and shaking, after Graham Norton, yes, that Graham Norton, publicly humiliated him on live television. A glass was shattered. Staff froze. And what followed was the kind of volcanic meltdown that doesn't stay behind closed doors.
Full disclosure, I do think Harry's a wanker, but...
he seems to be.
But here's the kicker. This wasn't just about a joke. This was about legacy, loyalty, and the brutal realization that Britain has officially stopped laughing with Harry and started laughing at him. This wasn't a punchline. It was a cultural shift, and it may have just sealed the end of Harry's credibility, his brand, and the one thing he had left, the Invictus Games. It didn't take long for things to go nuclear. Sources say the second Graham Norton dropped the joke, an offhand zinger aimed straight at Prince Harry's shaky relationship with the Invictus Games, the temperature in the studio plummeted. The audience howled, the panel smirked. But Harry snapped. Backstage, the Duke of Sussex was reportedly trembling with fury. One insider described the moment as volcanic. Another said a glass hit the wall so hard it shattered. His face was bright red. He looked like he was ready to hit someone, the source revealed. Staff members froze, unsure whether to intervene or run for cover. "He's mocking wounded warriors!" Harry allegedly roared down the corridor, his voice echoing through the walls. It wasn't just embarrassment. It was rage. Rage that someone so respected, so mainstream, had just made him a punchline in front of millions. And worse, it landed. No royal spin doctor could contain it. The clip was already circulating.
"You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife."
The moment had gone viral before Harry even left the building. The meltdown wasn't private anymore. It had become part of the show. And once the headlines hit, there was no going back. It could have been brushed off, just another talk show quip in a country built on sarcasm and satire. But this wasn't just any jab, and he wasn't just any comedian. Graham Norton didn't just mock Prince Harry, he dismantled him, with one sentence, one smirk, and a perfectly timed punchline that turned studio laughter into a cultural gut punch. He didn't yell, he didn't rant. He simply dropped a line about Harry's erratic involvement in the Invictus Games, once his proudest achievement, and let the silence hang just long enough for the audience to catch the sting. And then, the room erupted. The laughter wasn't polite, it wasn't staged, it was relief. The kind of raw, unfiltered laugh you hear when someone finally says the thing everyone else was too afraid to. That maybe Prince Harry isn't misunderstood anymore. Maybe he's just lost the plot.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I think she would be sad. I think she'd be looking at it long term to know that there are certain things that we need to go through to be able to heal the relationship.
But what made it brutal wasn't the joke itself. It was who delivered it. This wasn't Piers Morgan or some bitter royal commentator frothing at the mouth. This was Graham Norton, the man whose charm had made him untouchable for decades. He doesn't chase drama, he doesn't take cheap shots. So when he turns on you, it's not noise. It's a signal. And the signal was clear. The public had turned. Social media caught fire. Hashtags like #PrinceOfPunchlines, #NortonSaidIt, and #HarryWho were trending within the hour. Commentary poured in across platforms. News anchors, comedians, former military personnel, all echoing the same sentiment.
When Harry was only 4 years old, he was misbehaving in the back of the car. And his nanny said to him, "Behave yourself." And he said, "I don't have to behave myself." I'm not going to be king.
Harry has become the joke he used to rise above. But the most telling reaction? Silence. From Montecito, not a word. No sharp Meghan quote, no polished Instagram reel, no glossy statement from Team Sussex spinning the narrative. Just nothing. Because what do you even say when someone like Graham Norton makes a mockery of your legacy and the entire country nods along? This wasn't a jab, it was a verdict. And for the first time since Megxit, Harry couldn't blame the tabloids. He couldn't blame the firm. He couldn't even blame his own family. The laughter was coming from people who once adored him. This was Britain saying, "We're done whispering." And that silence from Harry, it didn't just make the joke louder, it made it final.
Well, my status hasn't changed. It can't change. I am who I am. I am part of what I'm part of, and I can never escape that.
Once upon a time, the Invictus Games were Harry's crown jewel, the one project that proved he was more than just the spare. It was personal. It was powerful. It was his. But now, it's slipping through his fingers. The moment Graham Norton's joke landed, the media frenzy turned its spotlight toward the very thing Harry used to wear like armor: Invictus. And suddenly, everyone started asking the same question: where is he? Because behind the inspirational speeches and the slick Netflix documentary, a far darker reality is unfolding.
It is a joke. Laugh, muchachos.
Oh, Pads, you cracked me up. Not that sort of crack, obviously. I mean, not that I would have, or not that I wouldn't, but I just meant like you make me laugh. With or without stuff, you know?
De nada, muchacho.
That's your grace.
Veterans are uneasy. Donors are pulling back. Sponsors are demanding clarity. And the one man who was supposed to be leading the charge has vanished. Sources close to the Invictus organization say Harry has refused to confirm his attendance for the 2027 games. Logistics are already underway. Venues are being booked, teams are being formed, schedules drawn up. But the founder is missing in action. No check-ins, no leadership, no reassurance. One former competitor put it bluntly: he told us he'd never leave. Now he's ghosting the very people who trusted him most. The backlash has been swift and brutal. Critics accuse Harry of treating Invictus like a PR parachute, something to spotlight when convenient and abandon when the questions get uncomfortable. The only person sabotaging Invictus, one commentator said, is Harry himself. And it's not just talk. Behind closed doors, the ripple effects are growing. Corporate sponsors are calling emergency meetings. Some are even drafting contingency plans in case Harry fully detaches. New speakers, new ambassadors, maybe even a full rebranding of the games themselves. Because here's the brutal truth. If the man who built Invictus won't show up, they'll find someone else who will. And that's the betrayal no one saw coming. These aren't just athletes, they're amputees, survivors, warriors, men and women who looked at Harry not as a royal, but as one of them. Someone who had worn the uniform, shared their pain, stood by them when the world looked away. Now, they feel abandoned, used. And every day Harry stays silent, that sense of betrayal deepens. The Invictus Games were built on trust, purpose, brotherhood. But today, that legacy is burning, and the man who lit the torch is nowhere in sight.
In a new interview with the BBC, Prince Harry opened up about the legal security challenges that are preventing him from reconciling with his estranged dad, King Charles.
If Prince Harry thought he could weather this storm with quiet dignity and a few PR edits, he was wrong. Because back at Buckingham Palace, the doors have slammed shut, and this time, for good. According to multiple palace insiders, the royal family isn't just disappointed. They're done. The era of protect Harry at all costs is over. No more carefully worded statements. No more behind-the-scenes cleanups. No more second chances. One senior royal aide didn't mince words. If he walks away from Invictus, he walks away from us. And walk away, he has. When Harry returned to the UK recently, he didn't see his father. He didn't visit the palace, not even a symbolic handshake. It was a snub that felt personal, and Charles reportedly took it that way. Remember, The king is battling health issues, the nation is watching, and his youngest son couldn't spare a moment. The betrayal cuts deep. For years, Charles quietly hoped reconciliation was possible. That one day the prodigal son would return, not just to the family, but to the values the monarchy stands for. But instead, he's watched Harry spiral into lawsuits, Netflix scandals, media meltdowns, and now, radio silence around the very cause that once made him matter. And this time, the palace isn't lifting a finger. They call it strategic detachment. Behind closed doors, it's more like exile. If he's going to ghost the veterans, one palace source said, he can face the consequences alone. And those consequences are brutal. No support from the firm, no buffer between Harry and the media backlash, no late-night damage control. The monarchy is playing the long game, quiet, ruthless, effective. Because here's the truth. The crown doesn't need Harry anymore. He chose independence. He chose Montecito. He chose Netflix. And now, when the walls are closing in, he's realizing what he gave up. Protection, legacy, relevance. The palace is watching it all unfold. Calm, cold, and utterly unbothered. After all, they don't have to save him. They just have to outlast him.
And every time I've sat on this panel and tried to defend the fact he needs security because of his time in Afghanistan and because of the fact that he will always be the son of a king, and I think that on that he actually has a point. I think it's a fair debate to say whether he should pay for it now he's got loads of money, but I think he will always be that.
While Prince Harry's credibility crumbles under the spotlight, one figure remains conspicuously, and perhaps deliberately, absent. Meghan Markle. No statements, no interviews, no Instagram posts with filtered photos and heartfelt captions. Just silence. But don't confuse that silence for weakness. Because if there's one thing Meghan Markle understands better than anyone, it's optics. According to sources close to the Sussex inner circle, Meghan didn't want Harry to return to the UK at all. And not because of safety or privacy. She's seen bigger crowds and harsher headlines. No, this was about control, image, timing. Meghan saw what Harry didn't, that stepping back onto British soil risked reigniting everything they've spent years trying to bury. Hostile press, royal backlash, public resentment. A single trip could blow a hole straight through the American rebrand they've spent millions constructing. She didn't want him anywhere near the battlefield. Because to Meghan, that's exactly what the UK has become, a war zone for her brand. Remember, this is the same woman who once stood center stage at the Invictus Games, dazzling cameras, delivering emotional speeches, claiming her place beside Harry as co-architect of their philanthropic empire. But now, she's gone. Fully detached, not a whisper of support, not even a staged smile. And that absence? It's louder than any quote she could have offered. Some insiders say it's self-preservation. Others call it abandonment. But no matter the motive, the effect is the same. Meghan is letting Harry take all the hits, alone. In Montecito, crisis meetings are reportedly happening without her. PR drafts are being rewritten again and again without her input. And Harry's team? Scrambling to contain a narrative she's made very clear she wants no part of. Because if Invictus collapses, if the British press goes nuclear again, if Harry's public image fully implodes, that's his fallout, not hers. And that's the cold calculation behind the silence.
Now Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have reportedly created their own royal household, royal staffing structure to make it more of a hierarchical system. So according to the Daily Mail, Meredith Kendall Mains will be at the helm of a team of 11 operating out of Montecito in the UK. And this comes as the couple continue pursuing their professional lives separately.
By keeping her distance, Meghan protects the only thing she has left, her brand. The speaking gigs, the investment deals, the Hollywood meetings. Because nothing ruins a new launch quite like being dragged back into an old disaster. So while Harry is spiraling, Meghan is watching, quiet, polished, and far away. Together in theory, solo in practice. And for a couple once obsessed with presenting a united front, that shift may be the most telling fracture of all. While the headlines mocked and Graham Norton's joke echoed across social media, the walls inside Montecito began to shake. Sources close to the Sussex household paint a chaotic picture. PR teams scrambling, assistants walking on eggshells, and comms staff revising statements by the hour. The usual confidence? Gone. The calm, curated image? Cracking. Behind those sun-drenched California walls, Harry's team was in freefall. Crisis meetings were called again and again. One insider described it as a constant loop of panic, draft, delete, repeat. No one could agree on a strategy. Do they ignore the backlash? Confront it? Spin it into another victim narrative? Or quietly pivot before it gets worse? The problem wasn't the media. It wasn't even Graham Norton. The problem was Harry. His mood swings, his obsession with public opinion, his tendency to lash out when cornered. They were making it impossible to build any consistent message. Every time his team got close to stabilizing the narrative, Harry would tear it down with another impulsive comment or emotional reaction. And worse, the old tools don't work anymore. The press is numb to his outrage. Social media is no longer sympathetic. The wounded prince storyline has expired. And now every move he makes just fans the flames. Staffers are reportedly burning out. Assistants are growing emotionally exhausted. Some have even hinted they're ready to walk. The common refrain among the team? It's always about Harry, his emotions, his pain, his war. But what about the veterans? What about the people depending on him? Because as much as this looks like a PR disaster from the outside, internally, it's a full-blown identity crisis.
Welcome back. The royal family feud is on full display once again after Prince William delivered a not-so-subtle jab aimed squarely at his brother, the Duke of Sussex.
Yeah, so during a visit to an army base, the future king joked that families are a mixed bag, adding, "Some of them might not want to see you that much."
The Invictus Games were never just a media play. They were supposed to be the soul of the Sussex brand, the proof that Harry still stood for something deeper than headlines. But now, that foundation is crumbling. And no matter how many crisis calls they hold or how many consultants they hire, nothing can patch the growing realization. The Sussexes didn't just lose control of the narrative. They may have never had it in the first place. Once upon a time, Prince Harry was the royal rebel, the soldier, the son who chose heart over hierarchy, the man who turned trauma into purpose. He wasn't just a prince. He was a symbol, but symbols only work if people believe in them. And right now, that belief is crumbling. What started as a single joke from Britain's favorite talk show host has exposed something far more dangerous than bad optics. It's revealed the emptiness behind the brand. The public isn't angry. They're exhausted. The palace isn't fuming. They've gone silent. Even Meghan, once Harry's ride or die, is watching the wreckage from a safe, curated distance. And the Invictus Games, the crown jewel of Harry's legacy, it's now a ticking clock. Donors want answers. Veterans feel betrayed. And the very people who once stood beside him in uniform are left wondering if the man who built the stage still remembers why he did it. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, William stands tall, polished, present, quietly building a future Harry may no longer be part of. The message is clear. The monarchy isn't waiting for Harry to come back. Hollywood is losing interest. And the crowd? They're laughing. And not with him. This isn't just a PR failure. It's a fall from grace. Prince Harry may have stormed out of a studio, but the damage? It stayed. And unless something radical changes, the crown he walked away from won't just be out of reach. It'll be long forgotten.